Hello everyone, welcome to my spoiler talk for Thor. So this movie starts off with actually the main human cast. They are looking at something in the sky because something is going to happen, and then like a tornado appears and a light comes from the sky. Normally goes into the sky, but it comes from the sky. And then Jane is like, go, go, go! So they drive, and then Jane takes the wheel from Darcy and she basically hits someone. And then we go to the story of Odin and how he vanquished the frost giants back in the day. And in my spoiler-free review, I said that Anthony Hopkins actually gets to show a little bit of emotion. When he's talking about how he defeated the frost giants, he also says like a king must never start a war. And then with a smiling face, he's like, but he must always be prepared for it. In that sense, kind of opening up to his kids. I like that. And then we jump to present day where Thor is being made king. However, a frost giant attack is happening. And so the destroyer comes out, stops it. Thor, Odin, and Loki go downstairs. They see the fact that it's been stopped. Thor's like, we must get revenge for this stuff. And Odin is like, yeah, no. The destroyer armor did its thing, and I have a pact with Laufey. It's like, well, he broke it. A little bit. Let's be honest here. I'm on Thor's side. He broke it. You may have made a promise with him, but he broke the promise. However, this kind of thing upsets Odin, and Odin is basically like, yeah, it might have been a little bit of a mistake for me to kind of make you king. So Thor gets angry. He throws a table, all mad like, and Loki whispers in his ear like, yeah, you should attack the frost giants though. And that becomes his plan. So the Warriors 3 and Sif appear. And Thor is basically like, let's go to the frost giants. And then everyone's like, yeah, let's not say we did, shall we? Because that's not a good idea. And then he basically goes around the room being like, yes, say, who gave you two the greatest battle? Who gave you the greatest feast? Who proved them wrong about women not being able to be warriors? She's like, I did. He's like, well, I supported you. It's like, there you go, Thor. Nice recovery. So he eventually convinces them all, so they walk off. However, they are stopped by Heimdall. And Loki wants to use his silver tongue in order to kind of like sneak past, but that ain't gonna work. Heimdall immediately sees through that. It's like, no. And then Thor's like, look, let us through. And Heimdall's like, I also would like to know what happened. I am an all-seeing being. They slipped past my eyes. How did they do that? I also would like to know. So while he does not send them, he leaves it open for them to go because he can't officially send them. So they head over. They go over to Jotunheim, which is all icy and actually great looking. And they go to Laufey and are like, what happened? And he's like, Laufey basically says that there's a traitor in Odin's chamber, referring to Loki. And obviously Thor is like, that is not true. But then Loki's like, we should go, okay? We got the, we're not gonna get anything if we start a war here, okay? I mean, Odin ain't gonna be happy. No one's gonna be happy. And let's be honest here, we might potentially die. Who's to say? Okay, you might not die, but the rest of us might die. So we should probably go home. And Thor's like, alright, fine, let's go home. And then Laufey is like, yes, run along, little princess. And then Loki's like, no. Which I love that he says that. He's just like, come on, man. We were almost gone. And then you had to open your mouth. So Thor attacks the frost giants. And then a battle breaks out. And Thor's like, give me something bigger. So a bigger guy shows up, but Thor still really easily takes care of him. Laufey seems to be in a bit of trouble. So he summons one of his beasts, which, yeah, okay, sure, why not? I don't know what that beast is called, so I'm just going to call it the beast. And eventually one of them gets stabbed. I forgot who, because one of the Warrior 3. But I always forget names. I'm not good with names. So one of them gets stabbed, the one that's going to be recast in the next movie. And they're like, Thor, we gotta go. So Thor's like, then you go, I'll continue to fight. So Thor keeps on fighting everyone while they run away. And then, you know, the beast goes after them. And I like how Thor just breaks. I love the camera angle work in this as well with this chase. Because, like, you have this big chase with this big monster chasing them down. And then Thor just, like, hits the ground, breaks open all of the ice, makes the beast fall. But then we go to the underside, and it's, like, running on the underside. I like that stuff. And then it, like, they reach the point where they need to be. They're like, Heimdall, open up the portal. And Heimdall doesn't do it, and then the beast appears, and then Thor flies over, gets through the beast's mouth, and after that, Laufey and his army are there, and it's like, well, this is a bit of a pickle. However, help has arrived because Odin comes down and is like, Laufey, these are the actions of a boy. Treat them as such, alright? And then Laufey's like, no, he wanted war. He's got war. And Odin's like, alright, and then teleports away with the gang. And then he yells at Thor about the fact that Thor did this, and Thor calls Odin a fool. And then Odin is like, I was a fool for thinking I could make that you were ready to be king. And then he takes away all of his powers and banishes him to Earth. And then he gets to Mjolnir and is like, whoever holds this power, if he is worthy, then he shall have the power of Thor. And frags it through the Bifrost as well. And then we learned that the person that Jane Foster hit was actually Thor. So that was nice. So Thor is basically walking around like a drunken idiot, let's be honest there, yelling at the sky about Odin and stuff like that. And so basically the three of them take Thor to a hospital, and then Thor wakes up in the hospital, starts attacking hospital staff. Which is like, okay, he was stripped of his power. How strong is this guy? He is so strong. Oh, also, Thor got tased. Forgot about that one. So Jane tries to figure out what happened and what this is all about. And then Thor escapes the hospital, and when Jane pulls out with their truck, she hits Thor again. So that's wonderful. Meanwhile, we have Mjolnir, who has landed on Earth, as we saw in the end of Iron Man 2. But now we have a bunch of people who want to pull on Mjolnir's stick. And they can't really lift it, so they grab a truck and a chain the hammer to the truck, and then the truck drives, and the back of the truck just falls off. And Stan Lee pops out and is like, did we do it? Like, go. Stanley. And then Coulson arrives with S.H.I.E.L.D. and they basically set up a perimeter around the hammer. And this was basically the end of Iron Man 2. Because we're still in Furious Big Week that has no timeline because it contradicts itself every which way it goes. So meanwhile, on Asgard, the Warriors 3 are trying to figure out how Odin knew about the fact, because there was a guard who told Odin about what happened. So they want to know how the guard learned, and Loki's just like, I told him because I knew Thor was gonna bring us to our doom. So this was the only way I could have saved everyone. So Loki had a suspicion about himself, because while they were fighting on Jotunheim, one of the frost giants grabbed his arm, and when it happened to the big guy, he was like, don't let that touch you, it burns. It's like, alright. But when Loki gets touched, he turns blue a little bit. So he goes downstairs into the relic room, grabs the thing that the Jotun is used, and then he turns himself blue. Odin is like, hey, you, stop that, boy, quit it. And Loki turns around and it shows his full blue form, and he wants an explanation. So Odin explains that when they attacked Jotunheim, he found a baby, and he took that baby in. And when Loki is like, why? It's like, well, to kind of garner peace between the two realms. That was at least his idea. And then Loki's like, I was just a relic, and starts yelling at Odin. And then eventually Odin goes into his Odin sleep. So now that Odin is in his Odin sleep, Loki now is king because the other son is banished. So the throne falls to Loki. Finally, he has the throne. So, back on Earth, Thor wakes up. You know, on the next day, he basically gets new clothes. They go to a cafe. Thor eats a lot, and then he drinks, and he's like, oh, this is great. I want another, and smashes the cup down on the floor. And then a couple of guys walk in and start talking about the satellite, the Mjolnir, and are basically talking about the fact that that S.H.I.E.L.D. Took over. And Thor recognizes the way that they talk. He recognizes that. It's like, where's the location? They're like 50 miles that away. And then he leaves and wants to walk all the way over there. And Jane is like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm going to go 50 miles that away. She's like, okay. And then he's like, unless you want to give me a ride. If you give me a ride, I'll tell you everything you need to know. And then Eric is basically like, let's just not, okay? Shall we just not? So they bid farewell. Thor walks off. However, when Jane and Eric and Darcy get back, they learn that S.H.I.E.L.D. has taken all of their stuff, so that's fun. So now, yeah, it's just not a good look right now, because Jane's got nothing, and the only thing that could have potentially helped her is she basically just let go. Meanwhile, on Asgard, the Warriors 3 and Sif basically want to ask the king for Thor's return. So they go over there and learn it's Loki, and it's like, no. So they ask, can you undo Odin's last request and bring Thor back? And he's like, no, I don't think I can. As the new king, I can't immediately undo what the last king did, okay? I'm not that disrespectful, okay? Even though he is, but still. Also, Odin has these sleep moments before, but normally they're prepared. This one came out of nowhere, so bit of a surprise. Meanwhile, back on Earth, we have Thor going into a pet shop being like, I want a horse! He's like, we only got dogs and cats. All right, give me one of them big enough to ride. It's like, yeah. So Jane drives by and is like, hey, you want to ride? Let's go. So she goes with him to the Mjolnir. And Thor's like, yeah, you kind of just wait with your explanation until we get to Mjolnir. But they get over there. And Thor infiltrates the shield operation. And, you know, nothing. He starts off stealthily until he just is like, screw it, I'm running. So he runs it, and he basically takes on almost all of S.H.I.E.L.D. He basically, as Coulson will later on put it, he's taking them on like they are basically minimum wage mall cops. So, Thor gets to Mjolnir eventually. One big guy stops him, but also, hey, Hawkeye. Thor makes it to Mjolnir, and he wants to lift Mjolnir, but the new spell, if he is worthy, he shall possess the power of Thor. Thor ain't worthy. So Thor basically completely gives up, becomes completely silent, gets captured by S.H.I.E.L.D., and then he gets interrogated by S.H.I.E.L.D. By Phil Coulson, and it doesn't really work because the Thor is not really saying anything. So when Phil Coulson leaves, Loki pops up and he's like, Odin's dead. It's your fault. Live with that. You are to remain banished. You killed him. See ya. And then he just leaves. Until, you know, he passes by Mjolnir and he tries to lift Mjolnir. Doesn't work. And then he's gone. So Eric comes to the rescue of Thor. He basically is like, oh yeah, hey, Donald, that's where you are. Which, by the way, to anyone who knows, Donald is actually the comic book name of Thor. Like the human version of Thor. Because Thor has like a secret identity as well. So that's fun. So he rescues Thor. He buys him a drink and then tells him to go away. Leave Jane alone. However, they drink a little bit too much. So Thor brings him back to the trailer and then he explains to Jane everything about everything. However, on Jotunheim, we have Loki who visits Laufey, and it basically reveals that he was the traitor. And then he makes a plan with Laufey to kill Odin. So now the Warriors 3 and Sif are kind of sick of everything. So they leave, and also Heimdall is 100% suspicious of Loki. So they leave, and they want to go to Earth. Heimdall's like, alright. And he basically once again leaves the door open. That's it. He basically just like, he's like, alright, you go. So they go to Earth to visit Thor. Loki sees this and is not happy about it, so he goes downstairs and awakens the Destroyer armor and orders him to kill Thor. Then Loki goes up to Heimdall and is like, dude, really? Really? Alright, you're fired. And you're not a citizen of Asgard anymore. And then Heimdall's like, aha, so I can kill you. And then just tries to kill Loki, but doesn't work because Loki freezes him with the ice thing that he has. And then afterwards brings Laufey in order to kill Odin. Meanwhile, on Earth, we have the gang arriving. So they basically tell Thor, look, what Loki said was untrue. Thor, Odin is alive, but he's just in the Odin sleep. That's it. And Loki has taken the throne. And, you know, everything is going horribly wrong. We need your help. So Thor's like, all right, let's go. And then the Destroyer armor appears and is like, oh, no. So the Warriors 3 and Sif are like, yes, let's fight this thing together with Thor. And Thor's like, let's not say we did because the fact that I am but human. I have no powers. I will only get in your way, or worse, get one of you killed. I'm gonna help with the evacuation, which shows how much Thor has grown over the course of this movie. Really like that. So the gang fights, the Warriors 3 and Sif fight against the armor, and it doesn't really work because the armor is just too powerful. So Thor eventually is like, alright, you guys get out of here. I'm gonna take that thing on myself. And he basically tries to plead with Loki. He's like, Loki, come on, man. Take my life. But leave them alone. They did nothing wrong. It's me you want. And then the Destroyer armor turns around and Thor thinks he got through to his brother. But no, he didn't, because the Destroyer armor punches him and kills Thor. Not really, but kind of kills Thor. But because of everything that has happened, that now has made Thor worthy. So now Mjolnir flies off and gets to Thor. And Thor gets all of his powers back. And basically proves to Eric, Darcy, and Jane that he wasn't lying and that he actually is Thor. And then he takes on the armor and destroys it, I guess, which I thought was impossible, but it kind of looks like he destroys it. But now we need to get back to Asgard and stop Loki once and for all. And Coulson comes up and is like, hey, we ain't done yet. And he's like, don't worry, son of Cole, I will be in the Avengers movie. Also, give her stuff back. See ya. So they head back. They want to get back, but Heimdall's frozen and there's no way back to Asgard. But Heimdall breaks through the frozen stuff and stabs the two frost giants with him, and then goes and opens up the Bifrost and gets them there. So Thor's like, you guys get Heimdall to the healing chambers. I will deal with Loki. So he goes over to Loki. And Loki has at this point led Laufey all the way to the chamber where Odin is. So Laufey walks in, basically, you know, hurts Mama, who isn't really a big presence in this movie. I will say that. So I didn't necessarily talk about it in the spoiler-free part. She has more of a presence, I think, in the next movie. But he basically just swats her aside and is ready to kill Odin until Loki comes in with the double betrayal and kills Laufey. And now has a new plan to destroy Jotunheim with the Bifrost. So he goes off to do that. But before that, Thor is like, hey, you've been lying. Mom now knows that he has been lying. He has been a bad boy. So but Loki goes away in order to destroy Jotunheim. Thor goes after him to stop him. Thor and Loki have a fight. And I love Loki as a villain in this movie. Like, even if you just take Loki as the villain of just this movie, he works so well. Because he's such a sad character. But you get his motivation in that sense, because he just wants to be accepted by Odin, but he's not Odin's son. It works really well. But anyway, so Loki and Thor fight. Thor eventually gets the upper hand by putting his hammer down on Loki, because Loki can't lift the hammer. And he needs to stop that Bifrost, but problem is, how do you do that? That thing is basically unstoppable right now. Jotunheim will be destroyed. So Thor gets his hammer back and starts smashing the Rainbow Bridge. So while he is smashing that, Loki's like, no! And he wants to stop him and kill Thor. And it doesn't really work because Thor hits the Rainbow Road. He hits the Rainbow Bridge, breaks it, an explosion happens, and Thor and Loki go flying off. Thor grabs Loki's staff, well, which Loki is also holding on to, and then Odin comes and rescues Thor. And then Loki's like, I did it for us, father. I did it for you. I wanted to make you proud, Papa. Papa, please be proud of me. And Odin is like, that is not a good idea, son. And then Loki is like, no. And he just lets you go. See you in the Avengers. Goes away. And now the day is saved. So, but the problem is Thor will never be able to see Jane again unless he does get to see her again. And we have the fact that Thor also, he didn't just lose Jane, he lost Loki as well. And while Loki, you know, was the bad guy of the movie, he's still family, right? So Jane continues her work in order to reach Thor again. Thor mourns Loki and also mourns, I guess, the fact that he'll never be able to see Jane again. And that's basically the end of the movie. And then in the post-credits scene, we have Loki who, I guess, mind controls Eric, but I don't know if he already did that. It doesn't really look like he already did that, but it's kind of weird. Anyway, they forgot something in this movie. Something very important. So, Eric goes down into like some sub-basement area. And Nick Fury's there. And he has a box with him. He opens the box and the Tesseract is there. It's like, ah, that's what we were missing. And that's it. Now, I'll see you guys for the Avengers, man. We did it! We got to the last movie before the Avengers. But man, this movie is great. I really think that this movie is great. It might actually be my favorite Thor movie. This might actually be my favorite Thor movie. Because the sequel doesn't do certain. Yeah, the sequel isn't really that good. Ragnarok has fallen off hard. Like, compare that to, like, and that's entirely because Love and Thunder. And Love and Thunder is just garbage in general. So, this is actually my favorite Thor movie that they've ever released. And I am really happy with it. Outside of the German angles, not Dutch angles, they annoy me. Like, sometimes they can work, but it's like, it's like Zack Snyder's slow motion. It's overused in this movie. They should have just toned it back. Would have been perfect. I mean, that's what people make fun of. The fact that they dyed Thor's eyebrows blonde is so stupid. And the fact that Laufey doesn't have a bigger presence in the movie kind of feels weird because he is supposed to be the main bad guy until Loki takes over. So, I don't know. It's a bit weird. He basically gets kicked out of the story while we have the Earth storyline. And also, I would have liked a bit more action on the Earth storyline, even without the whole Thor business. But overall, I still loved it. And I am very excited about what we're going to be doing next. Because next time we'll be finishing up Phase 1. So, with that being said, thank you all so very much for watching my spoiler talk of Thor. What did you guys think of Thor? Comment down below all your spoilery thoughts. What did you like? What did you not like? Is there something that you guys didn't like that I may have missed in my watching, because I was also taking notes? But overall, like I said, I love this movie and I'm very excited about what's next. So, with that being said, like I said, thank you all so very much for watching. And I hope you guys have enjoyed, and if you did, please like button, subscribe if you're new, if you've done so already. Turn on notifications, and don't forget to check out my Let's Play channel, link in the description and at the end of the video. And like I said, I'll see you guys next time when we take a look at the Avengers. We will finally have the ultimate team up and the finale of Phase 1. Bye!